Hey everybody, I wanted to do a different video for you today, and I want to answer the top 10 questions around creativity, because I just realized this channel's been up for more than a year and we've never even talked about the basics. What is creativity? Who does it well? What does it mean? What gets in the way? So I want to dedicate this video to that. Top 10 questions and my answer to them as fast as possible. So this word here, in my language, this word basically means dork. If you think somebody's a dork, you call them a dose. I don't think that's what it means on this cap. Yeah. Hi everybody, my name is Yuri from The Magic Sauce, and on this channel we bring you tools, tips, tricks, techniques, and stories on innovation and creativity. I just realized this channel's been up for more than a year, and we've never done a video about what is creativity. It means so many different things to different people, and sometimes it's a bit of an illustrious, is that the word? It's a bit of a mysterious word, and I wanted to demystify it. So I thought, why don't I just answer the top 10 questions on creativity? And to help me with that, I went to Psychology Today, and here's an older article, which I'll link up below, about a guy called Mark Beatty, and he has the top 10 creativity questions answered. Now, I'm just gonna look at the question, I'm gonna look at the answers, I'm gonna give you my take on what the answers are to me. Let's get into it. First question, what is creativity? To me, creativity just means making a connection between seemingly unconnected things, drawing a new connection between seemingly unconnected things. That to me is creativity. And that can come at a very large scale, as in producing music and art and scientific discoveries. It can also be at a very small scale. If you've ever cooked without a recipe and tried something new by throwing something in there, to me, at its core, that's creativity. So the next question then is, what is innovation then? So we just talked about creativity. Innovation then to me is taking that creativity, that concept or that idea, and creating value with that, creating opportunities for people, making their lives better, but it has to add value. So if creativity is kind of a way of being, to me, innovation is an outcome of something. How are they related? Well, I kind of already said that, right? So if innovation is an outcome of something, I think creativity is part of it. I once heard somebody say, if innovation is an engine, then creativity is the oil that makes that engine run. But I'll take that a little bit further, because I think there's a lot of misconception that innovation just needs creativity. I think it needs a whole lot more. I think it is a fine balance between creative and critical thinking. But at the end of the day, creativity is an element with which you can create something that we like to call innovation, something that has value. All right, next question then. Oh, nice one. What jobs require creativity? I get this a lot. I think every job at some level requires some kind of creativity. I mean, if you've got problems and challenges, but also opportunities in your work, I'm sure you need a bit of creativity. Sometimes you need to think in new and novel ways to get out of that. So I think at some level, every job could use with a bit of creativity. Yes, there are some jobs that are more known for being in the creative industry, but I don't think you should be limited to that. I think every job can use a bit of creativity. All right, so next one. Oh, great question. Why do organizations need creativity? Well, organizations get big. If they're successful, they grow and they get more people. When they get more people, they get more structures. When they get more structures, they put more processes and structures in place to make them bigger and function, and that's what business do. The challenge becomes they can become so big where now maneuvering and moving and responding to what people want and need becomes incredibly slow, and with that comes a whole bunch of problems. And I think often thinking out of that box, out of that structure, is important for business. And I think particularly large organizations are often very good at what they do. They're usually not that good at kind of listening to what people want, particularly when you get really, really big. That's where creativity comes in. So finding new and different ways to connect to customers, to respond to market needs, to bring people together and to get them to work towards a bigger goal. So the bigger you become, it can become a challenge. That's why I think particularly large organizations need more creativity, and that's what we're here for. That's what this channel's for. Subscribe now. Is creativity a strategic priority? I think often it is not, and I think it should be. We did a video before about why you should take creativity seriously. I think for a lot of business, innovation is definitely a strategic priority. I think for many businesses, they want 10% of their growth to come from breakthroughs, innovation, stuff that's new. I get that. But I think they often see creativity or creative culture or embracing creative behaviors or bringing out other people as something that's a lower priority. And that's because I think very often innovation is seen as money, breakthrough, tech. Creativity is seen as kind of, artsy people who do something with, they juggle balls and they do music and they draw and paint. And I don't think people see that as creativity. But as I said in the video before, you can't do one without the other. You need both. Engine needs oil. Oil needs purpose. Yeah, moving on. Can creativity be trained? Absolutely, absolutely. You can learn tools, tips, tricks, and techniques to be more creative, and the internet is a vast pool of things that you can learn from other people and pick up that will make you a more creative person if you apply them. But the same with anything else. You have to apply it, you have to do it. It's like if I do one sit-up once a week, am I gonna get a really strong six-pack and stuff? Of course I won't. You need to do it over and over and over again. Creativity is like a muscle. It needs to be flexed a lot and frequently. So it can absolutely be trained. There's skills, there are tools, there are things out there freely available on the internet which you can learn, but it's all about how you apply them. You gotta do it frequently, right? So, what is the best way to train people to be creative? I've got a theory on this one, which is make it real as soon as possible. I think there's a lot of theory. I think there's a lot of things that you can learn, like the videos that we make over here. Unless you apply it in the real world, it will be very hard to learn. So to me, the best way is giving somebody a challenge. Ask them a different question, like you get them to work their brain, get them to figure out a way through that. So make it real and tangible as soon as possible. What are the biggest barriers to creativity at work? Well, besides the obvious, we don't have time, we don't have money, we don't know how to do it. I think one of the bigger ones is people wanting results way too early. They say they want to try something new, and they say, hey, any ideas in, or we want to try something that's radically different. But then the moment they get started, they quickly fall back into, well, how are we going to measure success? And is this the right thing? And why are we not seeing any results? So I think being too quick to judge definitely kills creativity. And I think the other one is it can also go too far. I think if there is something called like crazytivity, where people are just being creative for the sake of being creative and for being different, that can cause cynicism, and people kind of go, oh, it's just a bit of a jolly, rather something that is serious and that actually adds value to customers and to the business. And the sun is gone again, so let's just stop for another one. All right. So the sun is gone again. Let me wait till the sun comes back out and we'll do the last one. We're gonna get some rain and some thunder in a minute. So this is how dark it gets, guys. It's the same settings on my camera. Let me up the ISO a little bit to make sure we can actually see what I'm doing, because... So it is literally 2 hours later and the sun has gone down, and I still need to make my last point. The last question here is, how do you build a culture of creativity? So let's do it outside. Screw this shit. There, outside, so much better lighting. So the last part of that list was, how do you then build a culture of creativity? Well, besides the obvious of having a clear vision, I think the other question is, where do you need to be creative? Because I don't think you have to be creative everywhere, but if you want to build a culture of creativity, I think is first finding out what are the behaviors, what are the creative behaviors, what are the things that creative people do, and then kind of rewarding that behavior. But I think not just stopping there, also making sure there's some tangible results behind it. So by rewarding the results that come out of it, make sure that you don't just get creativity for creativity's sake, it actually lands in something real. But then again, you have to be careful with this again, because if you focus too much on the outcome and on the results, you might not give them enough time to be creative. But at the end of the day, guys, what works for one company might not work for another company. I hope you enjoyed these 10 questions. I enjoyed doing it. It was a fairly quick video, went pretty well until at like 95% in, the sunlight moved and I had to change everything. I loved seeing you guys here. If you got anything useful out of this video, hit that like button below, share this with somebody who needs to see it, or hit that subscribe button if you want to see more videos around innovation, creativity, and particularly about how you build creative culture, creative tools and techniques and things like that. I'm going for a run and I will see you here next time. here with cars whizzing by. Let's just wrap it up here.